Welcome one, welcome all to DeFi Crypto and Airdrops, where DeFi Crypto and Airdrops are king. I am Mike, aka Veteran Crypto, and with me as always on Tuesdays and Fridays is Jeff, also known as the Blockchain Report. How's it going, brother?
Ooh. Well, it's been quite an eventful week. A lot has been going on in my personal life, and I'm just glad to be in a good place where I can take care of my friends who have not had such a great week. So, yeah, these markets, as bad as they are, they don't mean shit right now to me because there's far worse things that have happened that, at least for myself, my problems ain't shit. So,
You know what?
I'm able to be there for friends and stuff. So that's the most important thing.
That's always a really good way to keep yourself in check. I do it quite often. Anytime I start feeling myself, getting into that, poor me or anything like that, I always pump the brakes. Tell myself, suck it up, shut the fuck up, and realize that I got it really damn good. There's people out there that have it better, but I haven't, I'm definitely in the top 10%, and there's people out there that have it a lot fucking worse. So, and,
Hmm.
I don't want to put your business out there and, but, kind of what your friend's dealing with, that's, on the, a whole different level. So yeah,
Yeah. And we
you know,
had another friend that had an issue today. We had a non life threatening. Had to go to the emergency room, so I had to help his roommate out with that. So it's been but thankfully it wasn't as a severe situation. But there's still a lot that I'm grateful for where I'm at to be able to help support them in that way. So
well, that's
yeah,
awesome.
it's humbling.
Yes. Yes. Well, let's go ahead and jump right on into this. So let me make sure that you got your screen up.
Yeah,
All
let's give
right,
all the
let's see here. Let's do
everyone the
that.
goodies.
What the hell?
Hey man, where's my
All right, let's
screen?
do this. Since it's not wanting to
Oh,
cooperate,
there
we'll do that.
we go. No, we appreciate everyone for joining us here at DeFi Crypto and Airdrops, where me and Mike go live every Tuesday and Friday, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. Hope you had a wonderful Thanksgiving and aren't too full from all the food that you ate last week. You can catch us here on YouTube. If you're on Twitter, follow us over here and catch us in the chat. So we might go live, like I said, Tuesday and Friday. Mike also goes live on Mondays with Money Talks at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. On Wednesdays at 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern with the DeFi Masterclass with Jake and David. And also interviews coming on Thursdays. Great stuff. That future of NFTs and tokenizations with the law firm, right? That was
Oh,
really
Kevin,
Kevin. That was really good to see
I'm
the
I'm
stuff that they're.
actually going to be having him on again when they get a little bit closer to launch. They're shooting for January, where they're gonna launch that new token for their legal fund.
Awesome. Yeah, that was interesting utility that they're bringing with that. Yeah, and you can follow our brother channels, me at the Blockchain Report, Jake Call, Blockchain Basement, Discover Crypto, and David at DeFi University. Jake Call has his Metrics Finance, awesome DeFi portfolio tracker and simulator. The pricing, the 800 a year did end at the end of November. So it does go back to 1,000 a year, but start for free, especially if you're new to DeFi. See if you
Mm.
get any use case out of it. They do have monthly pricing as well, but also David's DeFi University. It's 97 a month. They have live mentorship calls from Monday through Friday and a beginner to advanced mastery course. So it is worth the investment. And you get access to other people in the community to bounce ideas off of and collaborate with as well. And Mike's DeFi Wise newsletter comes out Monday through Friday. Crushing it, man. You guys are crushing it with the calls, the
Yeah,
ranges. It's
today we were a little bit off. like a lot of the alpha that we put out in it was looking like it was going to be kind of the same old trend sideways or down. It didn't predict this pump that we got, but
Mm.
there was definitely a lot of bullish news that I had there, and our ranges for the DeFi pools have been just spot on since we launched coming up on 3 weeks ago. You could have been in a bunch of our ranges that we've been given and stayed in range the whole time. So yeah, we're a bunch of people have reached out to me and said that the newsletter has paid for itself because it's only $20 a month. So if
Mhm.
you make more than $20 a month off the information in there, it pays for itself.
Yeah, I think the news had a lot to do with the new Fed chair announcement too.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so you can catch us on Twitter, the underscore only underscore DCA. You can catch Mike at Veteran4Crypto, me at the BCR142, and our pump.fun stream. I guess it's having some issues, but yeah, pump it up, and let's pump up that price and get these markets going. Pump,
Absolutely.
pump.
All right. Well, let me. What we're going to do is just kind of talk about some of the projects that that we're bullish on in our community. Just because I've seen a lot of people asking about Plume and what's going on with Plume and is it dying, and Aerodrome, is it dying, and with the markets being down. Oh, excuse me. Everybody, of course, is wondering what's going on with our favorite projects. So, and like Jay has said, Aerodrome votes due tomorrow. So if you're manually voting, make sure that you don't forget to do that. And let's go ahead and I will share my screen and we'll just start kind of talking through some of this stuff.
And you did that live last week with David during the show too, actually. For those of you interested in the Wednesday show, yeah, the DeFi Masterclass. I think what was it? Oh no, that was I don't remember where it's at, but you did it live on the show because now that the time change, you have to do it during the show instead of
Oh,
after.
you're talking about the voting.
Yeah.
Yeah. I did it last Wednesday because with the time change, like for 2 weeks in a row, I forgot because we were in the middle of the show because it used to be the hour after the show was the voting. And then with the time change, it was like during the show. And so like every time I'd finish the show, I was like, son of a. So, well, let's start going through some of this stuff. So BitTensor, uh, a lot of people, have kind of forgotten about it. It doesn't get a whole lot of mind share, but they're doing 78,000 in daily revenue for the past 6 months. And this is based off Artemis. It's basically kind of like DeFi Llama. It has a bunch of well, here, I'll show you real quick. So this is Artemis, and it's basically just a bunch of different data. And this is what I geek out on. This is what drives my decision making with the projects that that I'm invested in. Is this? I don't care what the price does. Whenever prices are dumping and everybody's freaking out and looking to sell and whatever it is that they're going to do. This is where I go. Is I come to here and I'm like, all right, are they still generating revenue? Is the project still being used? Are people still building? Do they have developers? All of those key metrics that we want to see that an ecosystem is either stable or growing. If it's flat or shrinking, if its use is starting to peter off or it's not making revenue, that's not something that I want to invest in. I want to invest in things that are building and growing, not stuff that's slowly fading out. So anyway, this is Artemis. So yeah, BitTensor Tau, great project. Still, the ticker is TAO, still doing great things. Securitize. So this is a tokenization play. Um, Basically, this is a quote from Larry Fink, tokenization today is roughly where the internet was in 1996. A lot of people don't, they hyper focus on, the narrative today. What you need to look at, and I know everyone always says it, you got to zoom out, and you need to zoom out and look at where this technology is. It wasn't but a blink of an eye ago that, I mean, about a year now, where you had a whole different admin that was in every, lever that they could pull to combat crypto, with Elizabeth Warren and what's his name, freaking
Gensler.
yeah, Gary Gensler and all of them. I mean, it was all out warfare on crypto. It's
Hmm.
only been a year that the shackles have been taken off, and a lot of companies that had fled the U.S. thinking that it was going to be a hostile environment that they wouldn't be able to do business are just starting to come back. And you have people overseas that are building, but like one of my favorite projects, Casper, they started in Wyoming, and I think in Casper, Wyoming. I think that's how they came up with the name. They moved over to Switzerland because of the
Uh,
hostile environment, and so you really have to just
mhm.
slow down, take a couple breaths. I was actually reminded of a lesson that we got in the military. The Roman generals back in the day, this is a little bit of a rabbit trail, but Roman generals back in the day, they had a rule that before they made any important decisions, they had to wait. And they had to formulate, if I was my enemy, what would I want me to do? And so by doing that, you're removing yourself from emotion, and it's forcing you to look at it from not just your viewpoint, but the viewpoint of your adversary. And in this case, your adversary is government regulation, institutions that are trying to fudge you out of your bags. And one thing that I always do is I'm like, all right, if I want to get retail to dump their bags and get the price to dump, what should I do? And
Mhm.
pretty much what we see on a daily basis is what I would do is I would just constantly be putting out, negative news and making the price dump, because that that's an emotional trigger and it's going to make everyone dump. And as soon as they get start liquidating people, as soon as they dump the price and they start liquidating people, everyone panics. So you really got to understand where we're at with this technology. Are all of the projects going to make it? No. That's why you have to look at data. You have to look at who's growing, who's building, who is, partnering up with each other, not banks with a crypto project, but what crypto projects are teaming up,
Mhm.
like Linea and Chainlink with Swift,
Yep.
Plume using Morpho, and Morpho using Plume. You have to be looking at, base network is, an EVM. It's on, it's an Ethereum layer 2. You have to look at who is working with whom. So anyway, what are your thoughts, man? I've rambled.
Yeah, because we really need uh, a lot of synergy with projects, the legitimate projects, not just bullshit ones that are saying that they're building a thing and then it's not worth the bed of sand that they're building on. And the integrations and stuff, like you said, with Linea and Chainlink and the Swift network, that was a big surprise for me. I knew Linea was being built by Consensus, which built MetaMask. And I was kind of worried because MetaMask is not the greatest wallet. And but I guess Chainlink sees something in Linea that warranted a kind of partnership. But you need these projects to start building together and integrating with each other, because if not, everyone's siloed and shit,
Mhm.
and can't help build a good foundation with just individual actors. And the whole Wells notice thing, like Jay was saying, the dreaded Wells notice during the Gensler era was really bad, man. You didn't know what was going to come that week. It was
Oh,
like
it's a
once a
kiss
week.
of death.
Yeah, and how many companies moved out of the country because of that? I mean, hundreds or thousands, and others got shut down that didn't need to be shut down. So
Mhm.
it was just a real shit show. And now that we have more regulation or clarity coming, and today, Trump nodding Kevin Hassett as the potential Fed chair pick for next year,
Mhm.
and he comes. I didn't know much about him, but I guess he came from Coinbase. He was
Yeah.
a advisor from Coinbase and
Yep.
former economic advisor, so National Economic Council director as
Well,
well.
and
So
dude, I mean, it's that's what I'm always screaming on all the crypto shows when I'm in the chat is Coinbase base network, it's an
mhm,
Ethereum mainnet. That is where most of the stuff is happening. The DeFi and RWAs, that's where most of it's happening. And most of the people that are being put in these decision making positions have alignment with Coinbase and with a lot of these projects that are like Brian Armstrong. He's all anytime they're talking about crypto in Washington, 90% of the time he's in the room. That is the kind of thing that tells me who is going to weather the storm. Coinbase is somewhat silently becoming a neobank. I mean, it's you can get Bitcoin backed loans there.
mhm.
You can store your USDC there and earn up to 7%. They just recently added insurance, similar to FDIC insurance, where you can get up to $250,000 of insurance. So if your assets are on there and something happens to them, you're covered up to $250,000
Mhm.
with the Coinbase card. Like the one that I got. You can earn if you have. It starts out at 2%. And then at $10,000, it goes up to 2.5%. At 50,000, it goes up to 3%. And at 200,000, it goes up to 4%. But just for holding your assets. So if you have $200,000 of USDC, you can earn 7% on it there, by
Ooh.
lending it out. And you can be earning 4% back in Bitcoin. You get paid in Bitcoin for buying your groceries and paying your bills. And I mean,
How's
it's
that been
heading
going for you?
forward. What's that?
How's that been going for you? Since
I,
you've gotten the card.
like in the past couple of months, I've made a couple $100 in Bitcoin just for
Fuck
spending money I was already spending. My groceries, my
yeah.
gas, got my propane filled up. Um, I bought a plane ticket. My power bill, my Starlink bill, just anything that I could put on that card, and I just make sure I pay it at the end of the month,
Yep.
so I don't pay interest on it. So
Mm,
it's anything that you can do to just earn free crypto. I mean, why not?
mhm.
So
Those
anyway,
hacks, man, they're invaluable. Once you learn about them, it's like, oh shit, I'm already paying for all this stuff. Like I barely use my debit card anymore because I have a a few credit cards that give me cash back up to 3-4% for
mhm.
certain things. So it's like I'm already spending this. Why not use a card that will give me that value back in other ways? And like with you get CB, the Coinbase Bitcoin, right?
Yeah,
CBBTC, and yeah, I mean, fuck, and that goes up in value. So
exactly. So that 2, 3, 4% that I'm earning in the future, I mean, it's a couple $100 now. In the future, it could be a couple $1,000 that I've earned so far. Not to mention what I earn from here on out. So, and again, it's for buying things I was gonna buy anyway, and I wasn't gonna get any money back. So, why the fuck not? So next up, we got Uniswap has done $4 trillion in volume and returned $0 to token holders. Aerodrome has done 330 billion in volume and returned 433 million to token voters.
Ooh.
Assuming the same rate, Aerodrome would have distributed $5.2 billion to token voters at $4 trillion of volume. That's a 1.5x the total market cap of Uniswap given back to owners. This is why I'm so bullish on Aerodrome and holding the Aerodrome token. That's kind of why me and David were going at it. Is it's I know that a lot of people out there are really bullish on Uniswap and buy the Uni token, and I'm just like, why? I mean, it other than price appreciation, it really doesn't do much for you. I know that they're changing that, but Aerodrome all along I've been earning, and it's by far my best earner because it's like my locks compound weekly. All my Aero I have in a full range pool right now, and I'm making a couple hundred bucks a month just having it in a full range pool. I'm earning another couple $100 on my locks. So I think I did the math earlier, and I think it was around $600 or $700 a month that I'm making in free Aero. And again, when the price of Aero goes up, that amount goes up. So if it's $600 and Aero, doubles, all this time I've been making $1,200 a month instead of $600. So this is why I'm both. And then you got the new platform coming out in Q2 of 2026 that it's going to be deflationary, 85% deflationary on the new token. There's a bunch of new utility. They're going to be doing more buybacks. There's just so much bullish news coming out on Aerodrome. So yeah, when I see people in the chat and asking is Aero dead, because it's down, and I'm like, look at the whole market. The whole market's down. And those of us in DeFi, we're just earning. Market goes down, we earn. Market goes sideways, we earn. Market goes up, we earn. Plus, all of that we earned when it was going sideways and down is now worth a bunch more. So if you're doing DeFi right and you're not greedy, you can just do lending, staking, and full range pools, and you can just be constantly growing your assets without the risk of losing your assets. It's not like doing a leverage trade where if you get liquidated, you're just done. If you're just straight lending, straight staking, or just in a full range pool, there's risks, like smart contract exploits and things like that, or malicious smart contracts, or if the platform gets hacked. But aside from that, there's not a whole lot of risk, and it's just constantly that $600 that I said I'm making off of my Aero each month. That's for the most part risk free. And then we saw that Aero had that exploit. And actually I got some news later this week. The main website, you don't have to use the alternate URL. The main aerodrome.finance should be up later this week. But there was that exploit, and Aerodrome stepped up and said, anyone affected by this, just let us know, and we're going to give grants to basically pay you back. Yeah. That's almost unheard of.
That's what you want to see a good, solid project doing, No,
absolutely.
That's what's going to make retail feel so much better about getting involved too. Because that's what people are worried about. Like, oh, what if I lose all my money from a hack and then you're fucked? Because a lot of times they don't reimburse you or give you a grant or something,
No, absolutely. That's why I like non-custodial platforms, platforms that offers, some kind of insurance, like, Coinbase with that 250K, insurance. Those are the kind of things that are going to bring the masses into this. The Coinbase and basically making it seamless to allow the average person that doesn't know about wallets and, crypto and bridging and all of that stuff, them putting DeFi natively on the Coinbase platform to where people just deposit onto Coinbase using their credit card, their debit card, or their account, their bank account, and being able to just click a button, just say, I want to enter that pool, or I want to lend out this asset. Click done. They don't got to bridge anything. They don't got to swap anything. They just, this liquidity, put it here, and it will do all of it automatically. That is what I'm bullish on. That is why I'm so bullish on Coinbase and Base Network, is they're the ones that are spearheading this. There's no other network and no other group of protocols that has the setup that Coinbase does with Morpho and Aerodrome and Avantis and all these different plays. Uniswap is huge, yes. Aave is huge, yes, but they don't have the normie centralized exchange that has the partnership or the alignment and the integration that the Base Network does with Coinbase. That is why I'm so bullish on it. All right, here we go. Jay's got a story. My Uber driver the other day didn't even know you could, but buy fractions of a Bitcoin. I told him, get a Coinbase account and buy $100. I think I onboarded him.
Yes.
See, that's the thing is so many people out there have no clue. If you went and told them, do you want $100 or one Bitcoin? Most people would take the $100 because they just don't know. All right, let's move on. So Dromos, this is the company that built Velodrome and Aerodrome, and they're the ones that are building the new platform, the new Aerodrome platform and token. 200 million distributed to voters in 2025. And with the new Rev engine, we estimate revenues will increase by 40%. Q2 2026, stay tuned. So those of you that don't know, the new Aerodrome platform that's launching in Q2, go back and watch me and Jeff, I believe it was last week, did an episode where we talked about Base Network and or Aerodrome. And it's a whole bunch of new functionality. So a bunch of automations like auto compounding, auto harvesting, those sorts of things, auto rebalancing. It's going to be multi-chain. We named off like 10 different networks. It's not just going to be Base Network. It's going to be like 10 different networks that you're going to be able to, that there's going to be, pools. So that's just going to put the amount of liquidity on the Aerodrome platform on steroids. So with more chains is more pools. With more pools, there's more volume. With more volume, there's more fees. With more fees, we earn more. It's basically going to turn into Uniswap. So if you want to compare the two, Aerodrome's already given Uniswap a run for its money, but it's only on Base Network. You make it multi-chain like Uniswap, game over. You add Aerodrome, the new platform, to Coinbase, to where people can enter pools directly from Coinbase. It's going to blow Uniswap out of the water.
The Base app?
The Base app.
Shit.
It's going to blow Uniswap out of the water. Like Morpho. Morpho is like Aave's already scared of Morpho. They've already done a bunch of stuff. Trying to draw liquidity from incentivize people to move their liquidity from Morpho over to Aave. They see the writing on the wall. People being able to lend and borrow on Coinbase or in the app is a lot easier than trying to use Aave or Uniswap. So that's why, me and a lot of people in our community and people that are paying attention are just stacking the shit out of Aero and using DeFi to earn as much arrow as we can. And I'm just like, honestly, I very much believe that aerodrome is going to be what really boosts my portfolio. Here in the not too distant future. What are your thoughts on aerodrome and all that?
Yeah, I'm so glad that they're doing this integration with Velodrome because
Mhm.
since I got involved with I was using Velodrome a few years ago for optimism, mainly optimism.
Mhm.
And then Aerodrome launched, and I was like, they're made by the same team essentially, but why are they split like this? And it didn't really make sense to me. So seeing this whole integration is beautiful, and with all the stuff that they're integrating with it, that Rev and uh, all the different stuff that we covered last Tuesday. Um, the pools that they're integrating. I was just looking on the Dromos Lab. It said that they're expecting like a 40% increase in revenue. For Yeah, estimated revenues will increase by 40% with
Mhm.
that new Rev engine. And why wouldn't you want to just put your liquidity on Aerodrome? And with the base app, you can just click right in the base app and then hit, okay, I'll enter this pool. And they're talking about where you don't have to split your assets into two, like a USDC ETH pool. You can just deposit one token and it splits it for you and done. You don't have to go through the hassle of swapping and wasting
It's
fees that way. And it's
basically like
just,
VFAT. I mean, it's the functionality. Those that know, yeah, it's why a lot of us use VFAT. Is you can just select whatever token you want and deposit it into a pool, and it does what Jeff was just saying. It swaps for whatever it needs to swap for, and you know, it's all automated. So yeah, it's I don't I, it's crazy. It took some of these platforms that long to do it, but it's called zapping. So basically, you can zap
yeah.
into a pool, and it just automates the process. All
And
right.
having that liquidity across chains where you have to, bridge, it's all separate and you have to bridge stuff over to another chain and that causes more fees. So having all this together where you can just say, hey, I want to deposit this from this network and it'll do it for you is just, it's a lot less hassle and stress that you have to deal with.
Hmm. No, and again, it's a lot of it for me is it's going to open it up to where a lot more people are going to feel comfortable doing it. Getting into DeFi, and again, that just means that volume skyrockets, fees. And when I say fees, I mean they're negligible. But people pay fees to swap and perform functions like that, and to bridge and whatnot. But it's very small amounts. But those very small amounts add up. Every time somebody's doing that, if it's like 20 cents here or a buck there, whatever it is, and it just 24/7, 365 while you're at work and while you're sleeping and while you're on vacation, just when you're just living your life, if 24/7, 365, your money is making you money. So it's like having a second job or a small business, or if you're retired, it just augments your income. It's the days of just sticking your money in the bank and watching the buying power go down while the bank makes money off of it are over. All you have to do is take the time, be smart enough to take the time to see the writing on the wall and deposit your liquidity. At the bare minimum, you can deposit it on Coinbase, have that 250, grand of coverage and be earning 4 or 5% just for having USDC on Coinbase. Nothing, you don't have to do anything. You just have to have it on Coinbase.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to lend it out, you can make 7%. I mean, there's places you can make more, but at least at 7%, you're basically keeping up with inflation. you're earning enough to where the buying power of your money isn't going down. I mean,
Yeah.
it's that's the bare minimum. If you're not making 7 to 10%, you're you're going to be hurting. Especially if you're looking at retiring at any point, because all the money that you're saving up, it's losing value every year. It's losing value. So if you're putting $10,000 a year away for retirement, 7 to 10% of that, so like roughly 700 to $1,000 is, you might as well light it on fire.
Yeah,
And
I'm glad you mentioned that about the retirement thing because I just saw this post about this 88-year-old man that was, I don't know if he's a veteran or what. I'm trying to get it to pull up. Oh, 88-year-old Army veteran worked 8 hour shifts 5 days a week at a Detroit convenience store because GM's bankruptcy wiped out his pension and spent his life savings and sold his house to care for his late wife. So, there's stuff like that where you don't know if you'll get fucked by a recession or the company's going under or your 401k getting dissolved. And that's all stuff that, and with crypto, at least like, non-custodial wallets or cold wallets where you own it yourself and you don't have to worry about somebody fucking take a bank seizing your assets like that.
mhm.
You at least have it safe to where if something happens, you're protected. And like you said, retirement, man, you don't want to be like 90 years old and having to work 40 hours a week like that.
Dude, can you imagine? So
Mm.
no, I mean that's why I'm in crypto. Is I've been retired since I was 40, so about 10 years ago, and I've watched my pension. It doesn't buy as much as it used to. I mean, I still live comfortably, but I used to be able to do a lot more. It's like now, I'm in crypto. I'm able to earn off of a lot of the money that I had saved up, the cash that I have saved up, and that's how I'm earning a couple extra grand a month. And I'm just putting it back into crypto because I'm trying to grow my bags. But I mean, that's was the whole reason I got into crypto. Is I live out in the middle of nowhere, so getting a job. I mean, I'm closer to Canada than I am to a U.S. town. So it's like, I mean, it's, Jeff's about to find out when he comes up on Thursday, but I'm like 30, 45 minutes, in good weather to the nearest town. And it's not like there's a ton of job opportunities there. I can get a job at a fast food place or a grocery store, but it's a small town. So, I mean, there's not a whole lot of jobs there. So, yeah, it's a great way to augment your income. But anyway, so Plume, they went out to Abu Dhabi for the FinTech Week and was out there for a tokenization accelerator. So Plume is still very much still at it. Tokenization is reshaping global markets. Larry Fink, Rob Goldstein of BlackRock's latest commentary. Tokenization can greatly expand the world of investable assets beyond the listed stocks and bonds that dominate markets today. So all of these massive institutions are, in these, investment groups. So you got BlackRock, you got Investco, you have Fidelity, and a bunch of others. You can go on the Plume portal, and there is tokenized investments that you can, that you can buy, and there is ways that you can earn with those that you couldn't with those non-tokenized assets. So you can buy U.S. Treasuries, and before you would just buy U.S. Treasuries, and you would earn a yield, and that's it. That's all you could do with them. Now you can buy those same tokenized Treasuries and earn a yield. You can take those tokenized Treasuries and you can go and lend those out to earn even more. And then you can borrow against that to buy more of them. and do what we call a loop. And so I mean, there's some risk involved with, taking those extra steps because, there's liquidation depending on how much you borrow, your loan to value, that you borrow from your lend. But it just goes to show you the power of tokenized assets, fractional ownership. Like if me and Jeff wanted to buy like an investment property, then he can buy 50% of it. I can buy 50% of it. If it's tokenized, we can each buy 50% of it. If we wanted to buy an apartment building and we didn't have enough money, we could have it tokenized. We could actually put it up, like those tokens up for sale. People could invest and we could use that money to purchase it. And then based off of how many tokens the people own is how much of the profits that they would get. So, each month or each year, as we're taking in rent, after expenses and taxes and, all of that, then people would get paid out. So it's another way that you could invest in real estate that otherwise you couldn't afford. It's going to open up so many opportunities. I know that I'm always talking about this stuff, but I'm really am excited for what this is going to do for the average person. Because there's a lot of these opportunities that weren't open to us in the past because of, you need to be an accredited investor or it just wasn't even possible. Like, fractional ownership of real estate or fractional ownership of fine art or whatever.
Yeah, and real quick, this Andre Politov went all in, or went into all of the Aerodrome DeFi stuff, and feel like it's saving my sanity. At least I'm accumulating for free. Really glad I got myself to sit down and learn and digest all this stuff.
Awesome.
It's once you take the time and learn it, there's a learning curve, but it's so freeing once you nail it.
And if you have any questions, join the Discord. If you haven't already, we have a bunch of people. The admins keep it clean in there. We kick people out if they're, spamming or, trying to be scammy. But anybody with a red name or a gold name, there's other people, but for sure, if they have a red name or a gold name, then you can trust them. I mean, it's, listen to what they have to say. Definitely, no matter who it is, don't be given access to your funds or anything. But it's a really good place to get some questions answered if you have them.
And it's
all
free.
Right, Ricky. Yeah, I've seen you in the chats. Let's see what you got. Thoughts on Plume token unlocks that are coming, bro? Will it affect price heavy or is it already priced in? Honestly, I do not know. And honestly, I don't care. Yeah. I mean, token unlocks means that, there's new token supply that's coming into the market. Could they get sold off? Possibly. I would think that more than likely a lot of that is going to go to this endless fucking season 2 airdrop, freaking that Plume has been doing for
I stopped the spins, man. I stopped the spins.
Way too fucking long. Like fucking already. If anybody from Plume is listening, like end it already. Stop with this shit. I gave up trying to earn points like forever ago because it's just fucking annoying as shit. It's like, I mean, season 2, the season, it's almost been what, 6 months or a year. I mean, it's like, how long are you going to drag this thing out?
I think. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'll call out, I'll call out the bullshit on a project I'm bullish on as well. We keep it real here. Yep. The whole, cartoon birds that Plume does and this gamification and, I know it's great to, drum up interest and stuff like that. But if you're going to be the RWA platform, the go-to institutional RWA platform, you need to put on that persona. you need to look clean. You need to look professional. This gamify, stuff is for meme coins. That's not how you, attract serious, traditional finance institutions. So
No.
yeah, if anybody's listening, please, enough. Let's get serious. Um, Plume has joined the ARC public testnet. So Circle has their new chain called ARC, and they're building an economic operating system for the internet. As the first RWA platform backed by the largest RWA community, we are bringing Nest Credit and institutional issuers to ARC, empowering on-chain capital markets. This is what I'm talking about. When we were talking about, how these different projects, these different chains, different protocols are working with each other, not just, hey, we're in talks with, a potential partnership, but when you have actual building going on between Circle's, ARC and Plume Network.
Mm-hmm.
Those that don't know, Circle is the company that uh, launched USDC. So that's no small thing. Plume, the PUSD, their stablecoin, is already backed by USDC 1-to-1. So if you don't understand what that means, USDC is one of, if not the only, out of USDT and USDC. USDC is the only one that is fully compliant with the Genius Act, the Stablecoin Act that the US signed into law. So Plume, the fact that it's backed 1-to-1 with USDC means it's automatically compliant because it's backed with an asset that's fully backed 1-to-1 with either US treasuries or the US dollar. That was in the bill. Is it has to be backed by the US dollar or a US dollar equivalent, which is a US treasury or a bond. So these are the kind of things that I'm watching. This is why I'm bullish on Plume. A lot of people don't know. The Plume team has been in the room in Washington, D.C., along with Coinbase, along with Ondo, along with a lot of other companies. And they have been the ones that have been helping draft a lot of this legislation for DeFi and RWAs. That is why, or that is what I am paying attention to. I don't care what the price does. Plume can go to a fraction of a cent as long as they're making, as long as they're building this kind of stuff out, as long as they're onboarding, more liquidity, as long as they're launching more protocols, as long as they're launching more RWAs, I will continue to stack and buy.
Mm-hmm.
It's as simple as that. It's, we are just, there's going to be a price discovery for a lot of these tokens. Is it going to go down? Most likely. Is some of them going to go up? Most likely. You have to invest in what is being built. I mean, imagine investing in Microsoft, and understanding what a GUI, a graphical user interface, back in the day. That's kind of where we're at. Is, if you don't understand, what Windows is and, operating systems are, it basically onboarded people like me and you to be able to
Mm-hmm.
use a computer. Before Windows, you had to know how to code. You had
All
to like,
text based.
yeah, no, you had to like write code to make a calculator or to do anything on a computer. I remember as a kid, they were teaching us, and then along came Windows. Now you double click on an icon and it does it automatically for you.
Mm-hmm.
In the background. You don't see it, but when you double click on something, then there's a bunch of code that it executes. That is where we're at with these projects. You need to look at what the tech is, building up to doing. And you need to keep an eye on it to make sure they're making progress and make sure they're growing and make sure they're integrating. These are the projects that are working together, like Chainlink, the infrastructure. That is what is going to make you money in the long term. Are there short-term plays chasing narratives and meme coins and stuff? Sure. I don't have that attention span. I don't want to be, jumping in and jumping out and, crossing my fingers. I would rather do my due diligence, do my research, invest my money, and just keep an eye on my favorite projects, do my DeFi to earn free tokens, keep stacking those bags, and just grow, keep growing the bags. Because when these projects do take off price-wise, buckle up, because it's going to be a wild ride. It might not be this year, it might not be next year, but it's going to be a wild ride, like Amazon. Amazon started as a used bookstore. When Bezos first launched it, that's all they did was they sold used books. Mm-hmm. And you saw how they evolved. And imagine buying Amazon stock, back when it was a used bookstore. That is where we're at with this technology. Oh, here we go. Actually, let me know if you can hear this.
Yep, I can hear.
We've seen the internet collide with how people make products, sell products, making the cost of publishing and sharing data frictionless and free. We're now going through the next major epoch of change on the internet. Ultimately, every form of economic contract could move natively to the internet. And that is a core inspiration behind ARC. ARC is an economic OS for the internet that will allow all participants in the economic system to openly connect, build value, exchange value, form capital, and operate in an entirely internet native way. ARC will help increase the velocity of economic activity in the world. And it is economic velocity that is at the center of how we grow. It is at the center of how we increase global economic prosperity, which is Circle's mission. We're excited for this day. We're excited for the introduction of ARC in public testnet. And we're so excited to have so many amazing companies, projects, developers, and others collaborating and engaging with us as we embark on this next major phase of our journey.
That's what I'm talking about. This is Circle. What's that?
I just pulled up ARC before you even had that video ready, and I didn't even know about it because I was gonna say something about Circle having launched that ARC network on their testnet, and I'm making transactions on it, with our wallet and with my wallet. So I've been on this since they launched. So
yeah.
And seeing that, you pulling that up, and with Plume, I was like, oh shit, this is
Yeah. No, but that's what I'm talking about. It's don't get sucked into that, that flood, that FUD whirlpool, and that mindset, when the price isn't doing what you want it to do. You really need to just pay attention to what is being built. You need to pay attention to how active the project is. My largest holding is Aerodrome. I don't need to explain why. Anybody that's, paying attention at all sees what Aerodrome is doing. It's going to be insane. Plume, a lot of people, I've seen a lot of people, about to get fudded out of Plume because of the price. And I'm trying to tell them in the chat, don't do it. Do your own research, do what you want to do. But, me, I'm using, Plume DeFi, and I'm stacking more Plume. I have about, I'm getting a little, about to go over 100,000 Plume tokens, just from, just from earning. So what else we got here? Yeah. Tokenizing everything from T-bills to tuk-tuks. Tuk-tuks are those little, like 3-wheeled taxis little motorized taxis over in like Thailand and stuff.
Mhm.
There's like, I actually, one of the things on the Plume portal, that gamification thing was investing in tuk-tuks. So yeah, I thought that was kind of funny. And then you got GliderFi. Check this out. Freaking GliderFi on Plume. Like we did a
Oh
deep dive on
shit!
this.
Yep. The base project.
Yeah. So
Yep.
there's you know what? I just learned this live. You have GliderFi and Plume potentially working together, and you have Morpho and Plume working together. You have Circle and Arc working with Plume. You have Circle that is a partner with Coinbase, and why you can onboard your fiat for free into USDC and send USDC free from Coinbase to anywhere because of that partnership. Are you starting to see what I'm talking about? This spider web of interconnectivity. That is what I'm paying attention to. All these little threads. That conspiracy board where you got the yarn with the pins.
Yeah.
That's me. It's like,
It's
here's
always
the
sunny.
cabin. Yeah. I need to have like a wall and like, have Coinbase and Plume and like we try to tell everybody the connections. It's like, look at the connections. You have to understand the connections. So
Oh yes.
here's Ricky. Every time I hear a veteran talk about Plume, I get more and more bullish. Dude, I'm sorry. I just can't help it because I mean, this is the kind of stuff I'm looking at. Price doesn't phase me at all. Now, if all of this stuff wasn't going on and the price was doing what it was doing, whole different story. Totally
Mhm.
different story. If fundamentally it was a weak project, and to be honest, that's kind of why I've sold off a lot of my Casper. I still have a moon bag, but I sold a bunch of my Casper to buy more Arrow and to buy more Plume. I was bullish on Casper forever, and I want to be bullish on it. It's a great tech and a great team, but fundamentally, I just don't see them doing the kinds of things that Plume and Arrow are doing. It's sometimes you just have to cut your losses. I lost like Casper by far is my what I've lost the most money on. It was my largest holding at one point, and what was it? Yeah, I'm wanting to say that. Yeah, I had a very large bag of Casper. I had a couple 100,000, and I've had it staked for years. 150%. And just yeah, price kept going down. Just
Mhm.
every they were, they were having a partnership. And they were building. Somebody was building. IBM was building on this for a while. The AI and Casper Labs ended up breaking off from the Casper Association, and the old CEO basically took that project, put over to HBAR, and was building it out on HBAR. It just every time you turned around, it was just it would dematerialize. The bullish partnership would
Uh,
dematerialize, and so yeah, it's like you have to be real. You can't marry your bags, and yeah, I lost money, but I've made all of it plus some back by moving a lot of that into Arrow. So we'll just
mhm.
call it a win.
Yeah, you got to know when to pivot on some stuff and just keep, a little bit.
Absolutely. Um, all right, we're not going to watch this full event, but if you want to go check it out, this is just basically Plume's X account, and you can just go down anytime you're getting like fudded out or not feeling bullish on a project. Just go to their socials, go to their website, and just look at what's going on, and then look at this. Special thanks to our partners, Galaxy. So you got the official Galaxy account. You have Centrifuge. You have OKX Ventures. So OKX is a an exchange. You have Morpho Labs. I mentioned it before on Base Network. Morpho is the platform that Coinbase is using to facilitate Bitcoin loans. So Morpho Labs is a partner of Plume. You got Anchorage Digital, the TA Coalition, RWA.xyz, my favorite data porn, and Keyrock. Never heard of Keyrock. And then Odessia Labs. All right, never heard of them either. But anyway, and then here's like a bunch of different projects. But there is constantly new protocols and projects launching on Plume. There's like 200 plus different projects either already live on Plume or currently building on Plume. As far as RWAs, it's number 3. Like if you go to rwa.xyz and go to market overview, come on. There we go. And again, data porn. And you go to RWA count and filter it. You have Canton Network, which is another one we're bullish on. 8,460 different RWAs on Canton Network. And everyone was getting fudded on it because the price was going down. I don't know why it keeps flipping. Oh, here we go. Let's pause it. All right. And then you got Polygon, and then you have Plume. So Plume has more RWAs than Ethereum. As far as the amount of tokenized assets on Plume exceeds Ethereum. You have Canton Network, Polygon, and Plume. Let that sink in for a minute.
Mm-hmm.
Canton dwarfs Ethereum as far as TVL. Canton has $372 billion of liquidity, or TVL. Ethereum only has 300 million. Now, I want to make sure that you understand this. Ethereum is 300 million. Canton is over 300 billion. I'm going to say it again. Like it's approaching 400 billion. It dwarfs Ethereum. So you have Canton that we're bullish on as far as an RWA play, and Plume, which we're bullish on. Both of them doing on, of course, by RWA count. Plume is bigger. If you go to TVL, Plume is number 10. Oh, look at that. Plume freaking jumped up. Nice. So, yeah. But these are the kinds of things that I look at. These are the things that make me bullish on projects is data. Because data doesn't lie. All of this is on chain and verifiable. This isn't, I have a buddy who works at a bank and he heard that this is going to be happening, or, they're in talks, or there's a potential partnership. I don't care about that shit. I want to know what is actually being done. Who is putting their money where their mouth is? Where are they depositing the liquidity? Where are they tokenizing these assets? And the data tells you. Canton, Providence, Ethereum, Plume, and even Base. We go over here to networks. And you got Base, number 14, climbing the ranks. Just under Plume. So this is the kind of thing I'm looking at. This is the kind of things, the kind of stuff that makes me bullish. So what are your thoughts, Jeff?
Oh man, I love it because think of you being in a race. It's like, do you want the projects that are ready and prepared for when the gun goes off? Because we're still in the preliminary stages. You're in the prep phase. You're building, growing, and
We're
you don't want
stretching
to be
out.
in the middle. Yeah, we're stretching out, and you don't want to be
Yeah.
in the middle of a race trying to put your shoes on and your shirt and all the shit. And
We're not even on the starting blocks yet.
No.
We're just going to pull a hammy. We're stretching out.
We're
So
stretching out. And you want to find the good projects that are already doing that, and so and the data. Finding the data, seeing, okay, are they actually doing what they're saying, and what is coming out of this? So, like with the real estate, it's not fully ready for everyone to use, but they have actual products that they're rolling out, and the functionality, and the fact that Plume has the stuff built into their chain to where the regulatory stuff framework
Compliance.
built into the chain, compliance, and they're in Washington and meeting with these people who they're trying to get guidance and compliance from. It's highly, highly important that you at least invest in projects like this price is going to go down, but look at Amazon when the price went down to practically nothing, and now look at it. So
yeah. Let's see.
yeah, they went from a used bookstore to fucking we're selling everything, anything and everything under the sun.
Let's take a look at this. Yeah. I mean, it's, pretty much all of RWAs, with this dumping that's been going on has been going down, but you can see, it's there's good growth going on. So anyway, there's that. Learn more about Ascend. RWAs feel like crypto. Today, Plume Network submitted comments to the CFTC calling on them to unlock safe leverage for US DeFi users. Safe leverage supports healthy markets by enhancing market liquidity and price discovery. This is something I've been on a bunch of Mario Newfall shows lately. They've been asking me to come on, and I've actually been learning quite a bit from the panels on those. But there's one, and Coinbase is doing it. They just did their first one with what's that one they just did? That token launch that everyone's talking about.
No,
Fuck, drawn a blank.
Oh, Monad.
Yeah. So basically, what they're doing is, and there's some other projects that are out there doing it, but a big problem with crypto is that price discovery happens after it launches. So you have the token, you have VCs, you have the team, investors, all that stuff that have tokens. And if they're vested, they can sell those as soon as it launches, as soon as it goes on the exchanges, and they can have a place to sell them where there's liquidity. They just immediately start dumping as retail's buying, and that's why you see those big spikes at the beginning. So what a lot of these projects are starting to do is they're doing the price discovery before that. So before the token goes live, they're having auctions. And so it allows people to bid and buy, and it gets to a point to where it might have some volatility, but it levels out, and they kind of figure out where at least an area of where the price is, and then they launch it. So then you're going to see something more like Canton. Like here, I'll show you some different projects so you kind of understand what it is. Ah, damn it. Hate it when it does this. All right. So, son of a, pull up the frickin' chart.
Give it to me.
There we go. All right. So let's go to days. All right. So I mean, you can see that. I mean, since Canton launch, it's only been what
I don't
since
see it.
since
Did it
10
pull up
November. But this is a
on a different
lot.
screen?
What's that?
I don't
Oh,
see it on the screen.
oh, here you go.
Yeah. There
It's
we go.
a lot flatter than
Oh,
most
yeah.
tokens when they launch.
100%.
So now check this out. Now go to, let's see, what's something else that launched recently? You know what? Let's go to fucking Celestia. I think that had a pretty violent beginning. Yeah, look at this. So it pumps and then dumps. You know, a lot of times. I mean, this actually isn't a super good example. Let's.
What was it? Trying to think of one that was recent.
Yeah, I'm just trying to go back to the beginning of this one.
Oh, maybe. Oh, let me. I think I got one for you.
Yeah, see if you can find something.
Yeah. Come on, TradingView.
There we go.
Prove. Go to prove.
To prove.
Prove USDC. PROVE USDC. It's succinct.
Oh, succinct. Okay.
Yeah. So the daily, you should have like the first Yeah.
So yeah, this is basically what you usually see. Like I guarantee you, if we like zoomed in on that candle there, yeah. See, look at that.
Oh,
This is what usually happens. Is it launched, and this is on the hourly. So in the first hour, you got a pump, and then basically everybody that had this token, you know, all the VCs and team and all that, just did nothing but fucking sell it. You know, and a lot of times, if it's a good project, it will come back. But this sucks. You know, if you're buying, you know, up in here, and you see this going on, you're like, this fucking blows. So what a lot of these are doing is they're doing this price discovery, you know, like where you can see that after all of this volatility, it kind of settles in. You know, it settles into a range. And the longer and the more it matures, the more liquidity it gets, the more it flattens out. So this is the kind of thing that you want to see, is that, you know, have it launch. They've already figured out, you know, what the price is going to be, or at least roundabout. And maybe, you know, and maybe it launches like this, and it pumps and it dumps a little bit, and it pumps and dumps. And, you know, but it's not going to be these parabolic, you know, dumps and pumps. This is what I want to see. You know, if I'm going to get in on a project, I just want to get in on it and, you know, go ahead and start stacking my bags. And especially in DeFi, you know, with it trending sideways like this, I could pick a really nice range on this. Like I could do this right here. Like say I bought it here and I waited, I saw this, it bounced, kind of came up. I saw it bounced, it came down. I would be like, all right, cool. You know, we got a little bit of time here. Then let's do this. And I just want to do a nice wide range. There you go. From $1.12 to $1.39, I would be perfectly comfortable with, you know, how beat down the market is to be able to set this as a range. And just, if I wanted to build a bag of this, just let it bounce around like a ping pong ball in between these two lines, like it looks like it's doing. and just keep earning free, succinct, fucking prove token. That's what I want to see. I don't want to be trying to freaking pick a range in this.
No.
I
God.
mean, if I tried to do a range when it first launched, I would have been out of range this whole time, and that whole time, and that whole time, and all up through here until finally it settled into that. And then I don't know what happened here, but look at this.
Yeah.
Look at that range. I mean,
Yep.
This whole freaking time through here. I mean, shit. I mean, if you just ignore that, you could even tighten up this range even more. I mean, look at that earning. Just that whole time you could have been earning. Got volatile, dumped down again. This one would have been harder.
Yeah, but that's the delta neutral strategy that the guys were talking about, where you hedge short, with the liquidity.
Yeah.
I've been really kind of digging into more of that and seeing ways of utilizing it. Because if you're in a liquidity pool and the market's bearish, you could open a short on the position that you're in and use that as a hedge. I was like, fuck, man, that would be, great to capture that value on the downside and even mitigate that permanent loss. So,
well, yeah. And if it goes up, then, all of the tokens that you've been stacking are going up in value, and, and you can just keep rebalancing and earning on the way up. So yeah, like you said, if you open up a short and you were, hedging, then if it goes down and it goes out of range, if it goes out at the bottom, depending on what pool you're in, then you end up hodling that asset. In this case, it would be Prove. Like if it was a Prove USDC, you'd be all in on Prove. So now you have a hodl bag. And then if you shorted it, then you're making money all the way down. So you stacked a bigger bag of Prove and you're making money. That's what Jeff's talking about. And that's what David over at DeFi University teaches. So yeah, anyway. Well, shit. All right, Inked Pirate. What up, man? Well, does anybody have any questions before we close this out?
Ooh. Yeah, a lot of good stuff, man, coming. A lot of good stuff. We don't get shaken out of your bags.
Negative, Ghost Rider.
We earning.
Hell yeah. Oh, I mean, as usual, I was yammering on. I wanted to, put like I said, I just kept seeing people fucking somehow bearish on fucking Arrow and Plume. And so I wanted to get some of this out there and help people out. So, you got anything?
Yeah, no, just get in the Discord, people, because like Vet was saying, a lot of people don't have the time to be searching for all this information and stuff. That's why, we wanted to share all this stuff with you today. And we share all this stuff in the Discord as well. And it is free. And there's a lot of people sharing other great information. And we appreciate you all that are in there. Because, the more people we have that can find all these things and share it with each other, the better it is for the community and our sense of well-being with the market sentiment and shit. So, you can't be everywhere at once, but if we do it all together, we can help make each other feel better and teach each other some things, because we've learned a lot from people in the community, finding out in alpha that we didn't necessarily see right away. So it takes a tribe, and that's what we're trying to build here, and good solid people. And it makes it even better that we're not paid by projects to talk about these things, and we're not beholden to any ideas and thoughts. It's just our own, So like Vet said, the whole Plume thing with the gamification, it's like, okay, well, can we stop with the bullshit and actually get some good stuff going? But the project itself is good, but we're going to call it like we see it. So
yeah. No, anybody that's seen me in the chat or watched our show at all, they know we call it how it is. I'll call bullshit on projects that I'm invested in as quick as I will on projects I'm not. It's it we have to be our own worst critics. We have to constantly be questioning and dissecting, and just always be looking for the chinks in the armor, looking for the flaws, looking for basically reasons why you might not want to be invested in something. Because if you see something before everybody else and you're able to get out, you're gonna get out, and with a lot more of the value, that you have in there, as opposed to being like I said, it's a game of musical chairs, where if you wait till the music stops, before get next to a chair, you might end up chairless. And all the people that were paying attention, and they were doing the work, and they were putting the time in, they were in the Discord, keeping an eye on the goings on. If you don't have the time to do all this, our Discord is great. The newsletter is, perfect. For $20 a month. I mean, if you're investing any sort of money into any of these projects, I mean, $20 a month to have, every morning at 4 a.m, I get up, 4 or 5 in the morning, I'm up. My brother Taylor is up, and we're putting the newsletter together. So, we of course have ways that we do it that only take us like 30 minutes to an hour, but it might take, some of you out there a couple of hours. You'd have to dedicate a couple of hours to get all this information together for yourself. We put it in an easily digestible format that takes about 5 or 10 minutes to read through while you're having your morning coffee. And you'll know if the market's bullish, if it's bearish, if your project is bullish or bearish, like what news is out there, what the macro is, what's going on with the macro. We have a quant. It's everything that you need to know that's going on that day. And then we even have stuff like a 3-month outlook. So, I know $20 for some people is a lot of money, but again, how big is your portfolio? What is it worth to protect your investment? So, I'll leave it at that. But you got any closing thoughts, brother?
Oh, just real quick, Apu Crypto Bar. Appreciate the question. What are your thoughts on memes?
Brother, fans. You can make money on memes, and there's people out there that do. I'll give you my honest take on memes. I won't touch memes. Reason being is there's people out there that are a lot smarter and a lot faster on sniping those memes. And it's gotten worse and worse and worse. It used to be that you had days or weeks. Now you have minutes. You have to be one of the first ones into these things. And because as soon as people start getting into it, there's people sucking the liquidity out already. They don't even give it time to build a community or anything like that. And for every person that gets rich on memes, there's thousands, if not tens of thousands of people that lost everything for that person to make that money. So, the honest question you have to ask yourself, are you smarter and faster than everybody else out there? Or at least in the top 1% or 5%? Because those are the people that are making money. Everybody else is losing everything. I mean, that's my honest take on memes. Apu, do you, man? If you're making money on memes, awesome. But I've been in crypto for about 5 years now, going on 6 years, and all I've ever seen is people lose money on memes. I mean, even having a channel and having connections to like Discover Crypto and Drew over at Blockchain Basement, and just all the different people that we know in kind of in the crypto sphere. I've never met anybody that face to face, or that I actually can verify that made good money on memes. And I know they're out there. And I'm not counting stuff like Doge from back in the day, or I made a little bit of money on Shiba Inu, but Coinbase kind of screwed me when they crashed when I was trying to get out of it. But anyway, that's my take on memes.
Yeah. My final thoughts, take care of yourself. Make sure you take mental health breaks. Get outside. Get some sunshine. Touch some grass. And check on your friends. Touch some ass. Make sure your friends and family are doing good. And, be there. Try and be a good support system for them, especially if they're going crazy with the market conditions.
Mm-hmm. All right, my closing thoughts. Make sure that you're tuned in on Friday for our Friday Crypto and Chill. Jeff is going to be up here chilling on the couch behind me, and we're going to do a live show from the crypto cabin up here, and we'll see if we can get my brother. He's coming up here too. They're coming up to hang out and party a bit. So yeah, we'll talk a little crypto, have a couple of drinks, and just kind of hang out. We'll see what's going on. Hopefully, the markets are pumping.
Yep.
We can go out on my gun range and do some shooting.
Yeah. Gonna have a guys' weekend.
Yep.
Crypto cabin and chill.
Yeah, crypto cabin and chill. All right. Well, that's all we got for you. So thank you all for tuning in. Until next time. Oh shit, hold on. Where the hell? Oh, here we go. Veteran Crypto out.